video. Okay, so first of all, let's have a look at the darts. Right, this is the wrong side of the fabric. So I've got my little notches marked to the top of the dart, and I've got the dart point. Okay, so what I'm going to do is fill those two dart points together like that. And put a pin in. Okay. And now, sorry, that's the dart notches, so pin those two, so they're together. Now there's your dart point, so I'm just going to fold from the centre of the notches, okay, to that dart point. I'm just going to put a pin in it this way, and that's going to give me a point for my sewing line to land on. Okay, so I'm not going to draw a straight line. I'm going to just draw a little line, and now I'm going to use, you don't have to do this, it might help. I'll just get a pen away. So it might help you to put a little guideline in. So basically I'm going from where the notches are, right down to that point, okay? Dart line. Okay, so here again. So you've got notches here, so you might work, the notches are in the seam allowance, so don't worry too much about them. I'm just going to one side of them, but you can start underneath the notches. And I'm just going to put a little line, and you see I'm tapering right in now towards that pin where the point is. Okay, and as I get closer to it, sort of right along the edge of the fabric, I'm just going to sort of run off it, okay? So a few stitches, we've got a little thing here. Now if you want to, you can tie that off. So then you end up with, you know, a nice dart. It hasn't got, you don't want to have it bunched up here. It needs to be flat. So when that's ironed up, it's flat. Okay, that's darts. Okay, so this is my centre back seam. I've overlocked it. Before you do anything to it, overlock the seam. Here's my zip. Okay, I'm going to put my zip at the top, so it's the top of the zip is touching the top of the waistband, not like that. Okay, it's got to be there because you need to have space to put your facing onto this. And what I'm going to do is just get a pin or a pen or something and mark where the bottom of that bottom of the metal thing is. Okay. Right. So now put it on your machine. Starts, oh hang on, it's come undone. Just pause for a sec. I've threaded my needle now. So you pin yours together before you start doing it. I'm just going to make sure the edges are together. So when you sew it, you've got to make sure the edges are dead on top of each other, not like this or like that. You know, make sure they're dead together. And really, that's the whole reason we pin stuff. So you start sewing. I'm not back tacking the top because I've got to unpick that in a minute. I'm going to come down. When you get to that little pin, just do a couple of little back tack stitches. Okay, now you see the way these have come off each other? Put them back on top so the edges are together. It's really important, otherwise you won't have any equal seam allowance both sides. Right, down to the bottom, and you can back tack here. That's that stitching staying in. I'm just going to take that to the iron and I'm going to press it flat. Okay, so I'll press that seam down. Okay, there's the top. I'm going to get my zip. I'm using a purple one so you can see what I'm doing, but if you use colour obviously that blends in with your fabric that you're using for your dress, I'm going to put the zip the wrong way down on the actual skirt, and I'm going to line up. In fact, tell you what, I'll unzip it. See what I'm doing. It might be easier to start if you just put a few pins to keep that in place. Okay, so can you see there that the teeth of the zip are lined up with the seam along with the seam? Okay, now you might be better putting a zipper foot on if you've got one, but I think just my normal foot will do here. I'm just going to do a little back tack, okay, and so I'm sort of going to keep that zip, the edge of the zip to the seam. I'm just going to sew right down. I'm going to keep the edge of my foot to the side of the zip, okay? So can only go down so far before that zipper puller gets in the way. So what I'm going to do is raise the foot of my presser foot, pull up the zip, and keep sewing. Okay, and here, making sure that that little metal hub is positioned right in the middle of that seam, okay? Come down as far as you can. Now, turn round. Now, make sure you don't sew over that metal thing because it'll break your needle, so make sure you miss that. Okay, and then we're coming back up again. Now you might need to stop here and pull your zip down again, but my foot's quite narrow, so I can just manage that. Okay, so I've sort of went round that zip in a square and missing out there. Okay, so be as careful, get as close to that as you can, but obviously be very careful when you're going past it that you don't put your needle on it. Okay, so now I've got to unpick down here. So I'll do that now and back. Okay, so I've unpicked. Now I used quite a big stitch. I used a size 4 stitch, so that was quite easy to unpick. And do you remember we did like a little bit of back tack in here? Well, that's so that all this doesn't come undone. So just make sure you pull out all of these little loose strands. And see, even though that's like a purple zip, that lap that we've created has sort of covered it. So that's, if you use a zip that's like really close to the colour of your fabric, you should get quite a nice neat finish there. Okay, so I'll carry on doing that and I'll show you how to put the face in. Okay, so we've got our back piece of face in here. Okay, so we're going to line one side up with the side seam and then this side up with the centre seam. And I'm going to turn it over and pin it in place, because the reason I'm doing that is we don't want to sew over this little nub here because it's metal and you'll break your needle on it. Okay. So, okay, let's start here. And this type of zip that I'm putting on in now is just a very simple zip that will do if you're making anything for yourself or you're making a sample. But if you're going to sell anything, obviously this isn't the way you would put a zip in. There's a better way of doing it. I think I've got another video that shows you how to put like a vintage style zip in on my YouTube channel, so you can have a look at that. Right, so that's our zip sewn in. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to keep that folded up, the skirt, and I'm going to fold this back. I'm going to sew the face and back right on the edge. This is like called an edge stitch. So as close as you can get to that edge, the better. Okay. Oh, wrong else. Just be back in a minute. I'll just change my bobbin. Okay, so I'm back again. Change my bobbin. Okay, so some of you might have made skirts before and think, well, that's a weird way of doing it. You should have maybe done the side seam first and then sewn the facing on all together. And you can do that, but I'm just trying to do this for a very simple beginner's video that's going to make it sort of easy for people to follow. Right, so that's back tacked, and what that does is when you fold your lining over, it tends to keep your lining in place on this side, so your lining doesn't peep up. So it basically keeps your lining flat on the wrong side of the fabric. Right, so how are we going to finish this off? Okay, so what I'm going to do is just fold that over like that, turn it down, so just make sure that lining is this side so you can't see it. Okay, and like I say, this isn't the perfect way to do it, but it's neat, it's fine if you just want to make something for yourself or you're making a sample. And obviously this purple zip is like atrocious, but you know, we've got a selection of zips there, so you can just pick one that is the same colour as your skirt and it should look fine. Okay, so we'll do that one the same, and you know, there you go, should look fine.